is I don't feel like his heart is in it anymore. And I feel like he's really going to let these tech bros run the country. JD Vance, of course, their stooge. But I feel like Trump's egomania from the last administration, how chaotic he is, I think that's going to play a part, and he'll probably ditch people like Elon just because they're embarrassing. But I don't think he's going to be really giving much of a shit about what these people do, and they're going to be able to just do whatever they want because they bribed him already. So a good article from The Cut by Laura Bassett. I like this. The broligarchy is here. So when I saw this term, the broligarchy, I initially thought it meant like broligarchy is in terms of like masculine, and I was like, well, that probably can't be right because of like who these people are. I mean, I guess you could read it that way. I'm reading it more as the tech broligarchy. But I just like what it said. So it talks about all the CEOs I just mentioned, saying these men were seated in front of Trump's cabinet nominees during the ceremony after donating a record $250 million to the celebration. Tech baron and Republican mega donor Peter Thiel had also thrown an inauguration party for Trump over the weekend at his own mansion, which Zuckerberg attended. In addition, Mukesh Ambani, the richest man in India, and French billionaire Bernard Arnault were also in attendance on Monday, with the latter placed very prominently in front of the cameras. The optics of the multi-day celebration made one thing clear: the broligarchy is here. Rather than quietly using their wealth to influence politics behind the scenes, rich tech pros now literally have a seat at the table with the president of the US. Trump even directly acknowledged his billionaire buddies in his speech. With these powerful allies already in his pocket, Trump has started to return the favor by announcing a pay-to-play scheme wherein any person or company who spends at least $1 billion in the US will receive fully expedited approvals and permits, including, but in no way limited to, all environmental approvals. And then, of course, it references the Biden speech about him saying an oligarchy is forming in America. So I was talking about that Biden point before. America has been an oligarchy for a long, long time. But as this article was talking about, the broligarchy is just saying, you know, here we are, we control your politics. What are you going to do about it? You voted for a president because he said he was anti-elite, while making his presidency, again, one of the most elite presidencies of all time. He's allegedly a billionaire. All these billionaire mates are going to loot the country, deregulate everything, make your lives worse, and tens of millions of Americans voted for them because Americans are just so brainwashed. And not just Republicans, but also Democrats as well, who ensure that America will never get better because they can't imagine a better world. And I don't blame all of them, although I do hate liberals more because they're more educated, more informed, and still choose these terrible politicians and basically shame any leftist who points out, but yeah, maybe Kamala Harris is bad, maybe Joe Biden is pretty bad, and maybe voting for the lesser evil forever is not a strategy to either stop fascism or make people's lives better in any meaningful way. I totally reject this. And the one thing I'm hoping, with them being so visible now, is just people realize and can link their economic conditions with these people. Will they be able to? I don't know. But at the same time, having something more visible is good because with someone like Biden, it's all behind the scenes. This is a guy who went around donors during his primary campaign telling them nothing would change if he became president, right? He's part of the oligarchy as well. The oligarchy like Biden as well. They just prefer Trump because they can be more corrupt. Oligarchy and monopoly is always the end result of capitalism. And I said a long time ago, America will be Russia within like 10 years, and the UK will be Russia within like 15 years. And obviously the current Russian administration was in part created by Western economic policies, so I just feel like that is the blueprint for the rest of European and Western countries to follow, and what inevitably they will become. They'll have different flavors. It won't be like one strong man leading the country for 20 years, but it probably will, you know, see us having like successive Republican administrations for a long, long time as they shore up their power. One more thing I want to talk about is just in terms of capitalism and fascism. And I was just reading this article about how the Nazis were bailed out by big business in the 1930s. And this is a piece on the Brennan Center for Justice. The Nazi Party was bailed out by German industrialists in early 1933. The industrialists who led the way were two huge German firms, IG Farben and Krupp. Leaders of both companies were among a few civilians who were later charged with war crimes at Nuremberg. The party was essentially bankrupt in late 1932. Hitler was named Chancellor in late January 1933, and he called elections for March. With less than 2 weeks before the vote, Hermann Göring sent telegrams to Germany's 25 leading industrialists, inviting them to a secret meeting in Berlin in February. Attending the gathering were 4 IG Farben directors and Krupp chief Gustav Krupp. Hitler addressed the group saying, "Private enterprise cannot be maintained in a democracy. He also told the men that he would eliminate trade unions and communists, and he asked for their financial support to back division of Germany. According to Robert Jackson, the former Supreme Court Justice and Chief Prosecutor in Nuremberg, they raised about $30 million today to strengthen the party. And all this money basically saved the party from financial disaster. So why I read you that just at the end is just to hammer home the point that capitalists, tech bros, capitalists, oil barons, capitalists, anything, it doesn't really matter what their politics are. It doesn't really matter if they're in lockstep with Trump. It doesn't really matter if they totally agree with his politics. At the end of the day, all these people care about is cozying up to the powerful politically to make more money for themselves, and that can be for various different reasons. It can be for their own, personal ventures, like Elon Musk is obsessed with space and sci-fi. Jeff Bezos, I don't know what he really cares about. Mark Zuckerberg is obsessed with just being a freak and colonizing Hawaii. But they want all of this just to have unchecked power, be accountable to absolutely no one, and they're able to do whatever they want, right? That is the end goal for these people. And just like with these people in Germany in the 1930s, any party who promises to serve capital the best is going to get their endorsement and get their backing, because at the end of the day, these people only care about one thing. I mean, it helps. They all subscribe to the cult of Ayn Rand and believe in their own individual brilliance and believe in like deregulation and just this myth and this great man theory myth and everything like that. But at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. And just be prepared for this. If Republicans have a downfall, if it's not going well, Donald Trump resigns and JD Vance takes over, Donald Trump dies and JD Vance takes over, Republicans might become very, very unpopular, and lots of these tech bros are going to switch sides. And they're just going to bribe the next corporate Democrat. And don't be surprised when you see the next election being Kamala Harris versus JD Vance, or Pete Buttigieg and JD Vance. And don't be surprised that the Democrat will take insane money from the tech industry as well. And all the libs will go out to brunch if JD Vance is defeated in the next election. And then what will happen is they'll just become complacent again and not realize the oligarchy is still there. Just because Mark Zuckerberg and others won't be at the new president's inauguration or something doesn't mean people like them won't be pulling the strings. The one thing I'm hoping out of all of this, billionaires and millionaires are normally smart enough to stay out of the public spotlight. These people and these tech bros just want to be respected so much, they have entered it hoping the public will love them. Public don't love them, but again, I'm hoping the silver lining is they can link your general oppression under the capitalist system to what you're seeing in politics right now. And you're seeing how money buys you a seat at the table and how there is no democracy. There's no democracy under capitalism, and America is probably one of the worst examples of a democracy under capitalism because it doesn't function in any way that represents the people, and the baseline is so ridiculous as well, like universal healthcare, which Britain, for example, has had since the 1940s, right? That's not even discussed in America. Baseline level is even worse, and it's even less democratic. But anyway, that is it for the video. Let me know what you guys think, and if you made it this far, thank you for watching.
Target appears hostile. Sending frag. One by. Target ID'd. Heads. Hostile shooter. One less hostile. Five hostiles down. Nice.
So imagine you're the author of a universally loved children's series of books. You have millions of fans all around the world. You've essentially become a billionaire from the book sales and from all the money that IP has made you through things like the movies. But now, what anyone thinks about when they talk about you is your transphobia and your tweets. Imagine you are wrongly a well-respected academic and you spend a lot of time working in various different highly regarded universities in America and Canada, and you actually have a very successful self-help book, but also now all anyone thinks about when they think of you is your unhinged tweets. Now imagine you are one of the richest men in the world. You used to have a lot of praise for putting a lot of money into the privatized space industry, for running a company that sold electric cars, for talking about bringing humanity to the stars and saving the earth through these electric cars so you could save the earth from climate change. And now everyone just thinks you are a fascist and all they think about is your tweets. So the three people I've spoke about just there are the three best examples of Twitter as a platform radicalizing people until basically they are only known for one thing: their tweets. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to tell anyone that J.K. Rowling, Jordan Peterson and Elon Musk were ever nice people, were ever good people, but it's also fair to say they were both respected for various different things by society, and also they didn't used to be on Twitter as much, and they didn't used to just tweet non-stop, like could not help themselves, because all three of these people have been radicalized by Twitter. And I've spoke about this before, but why I want to talk about this again, because Elon Musk has somehow exceeded Jordan Peterson with being obsessed with Twitter. And of course, Elon Musk owns Twitter, but that's not what I'm saying. I mean obsessed with tweeting. So this is what inspired the video. I saw this post on Threads. Threads is a Twitter clone run by Meta. So Elon Musk posted 105 times in the past 24 hours, with the longest gap between tweets being 4 hours. He posted in 20 out of those last 24 hours and 38 in the last 48 hours. He's absolutely zooted out of his mind and completely losing it. It's fantastic. And I'm going to show you later in the video, I did my own little research. I went on Elon Musk's page and saw how long it took me to scroll back on his post to a day before the latest one, right? And as you're going to see, it's just absolutely insane. And I actually made another video a year and a bit ago talking about Jordan Peterson's Twitter addiction, where he tweeted non-stop, every 5 minutes for a day. And with Elon Musk, he has basically radicalized himself from some sort of centrist libertarian to an actual fascist. His whole profile is indistinguishable from any other far-right account. And of course, we all know that's where his politics lie these days. And you could say, well, he's a rich person, right? So of course a rich person is always going to side with the group that will give him the best tax breaks or will allow him to run his businesses how he wants. And we saw that actual exchange with him and Ron DeSantis, where he hosted the launch of DeSantis's presidential campaign in exchange for DeSantis passing a law which would mean SpaceX wouldn't be as responsible for their employees' well-being. So we've seen that there. But at the same time, I think it's pretty clear Elon Musk has created his own far-right Twitter bubble. This has been happening for the last 4 years, and now he's just firmly radicalized himself into an actual Nazi. And I feel absolutely gaslit by the mainstream media. Why do they not treat this guy like he is a fascist? I do not understand. There is nothing he ever says which isn't far right. And we even saw this recently because, of course, he was personally boosting misinformation about the recent riots in England. But even then, the media were framing it controversial CEO of Twitter versus the Prime Minister Keir Starmer, not being willing to piss off the powerful by actually outlining, this guy is a fascist and he supports the riots. Why don't people say that? All his tweets are just xenophobic, anti-immigrant, loads of shit about white replacement and stuff. This is indistinguishable from 4chan at this point, and he's one of the richest men in the world. So I want to talk about all of this today in regards to Twitter addiction, but also like what has kicked this off recently. Why has he been particularly bad when, you know, he is always bad? So all of that coming up for you today. Please like the video and also follow me on social media at the Cavernacle on mainly Instagram, but yes, I am on Threads as well, and I've been enjoying that recently. But also, if you want to support my work, check out my Patreon. Trying to build up as many $1 to $3 patrons as possible. Benefits include access early to videos which are ad-free on Patreon itself, and also you get access to the Discord server. With all of that out the way, let's get back into the video. So I talked about obviously J.K. Rowling and Jordan Peterson, people who also have Twitter addiction, but I spoke about in the past my addiction to Twitter, which I think I've broken. But in March, I actually like deleted it off like all my devices because I was just like, Twitter is uniquely bad for stimulating your brain in terms of there's no filter, right? So you see the worst things ever in terms of footage from like Gaza or Ukraine, and then you also see loads of adult content that is completely unfiltered, but it can just randomly like show up on your timeline or in the comments of a tweet that has nothing to do with that subject matter. So you could just be like about to go to bed and you go on Twitter, that pops up, or you wake up in the morning and that pops up, and that's part of the reason I quit. But it's hard to quit cold turkey. At the moment, I have Twitter just on my iPad. The reason I re-downloaded it was basically because of the Euros, then it was the Olympics, and then it was the election as well, and it's just like there is no place still that can beat Twitter when it comes to like political news, and that's a sad reality of competitors like Threads, which doesn't want to be an outlet for politics really, and also BlueSky, which is still, you know, relatively small. So even though I've been using those platforms a lot more, and I could see myself like actually switching to Threads completely, at the same time it just can't replicate the culture on Twitter. Now obviously Twitter has also been where I've had my biggest following on social media outside of YouTube. I have 14,000 followers on Twitter. That's basically like completely slowed down since Elon took over, because although my tweets get like a fair bit of engagement, it feels like because I don't have Twitter Blue, it doesn't go anywhere beyond my immediate circle, and that's part of the reason I don't like Twitter, because everyone creates their own bubble, where something like Threads, I've been tweeting about like Star Wars Outlaws on Threads, and loads of random people are liking it. If I did that on Twitter, no one's going to see it. So the discoverability of like trends, I feel like, is better now on somewhere like Threads, which is more fun to just talk about your random passions. But also with Twitter, there's a certain meme culture on it, and I'm not going to pretend like I don't partake in it myself or I don't engage in this, because I find it fun. And that's trolling culture. Like, I like saying shit like Elden Ring, Shadow of the Mid-Tree, and seeing what people say. Like, I'm a sicko. I like that stuff. And I like the community that I built on Twitter over the years. So I understand why people get addicted. And also, the algorithm just feeds you shit like that is very, very similar to what you're tweeting yourself. So it's easy to get into this like very political bubble and keep getting shown political stuff, right? You can't really insulate yourself from that if that's all you tweet about. So someone like Elon Musk is clearly being radicalized by his own algorithms, because as his more like liberal fans started leaving him with all his stuff about COVID, he starts tweeting more Republican stuff, he starts interacting with more Republican accounts, and basically on Elon Musk's For You feed, which he'll spend so much time on, as we're going to get into, that will just all be the most fascist shit ever. And again, I'm not excusing this guy being a fascist, because we all know rich people, even if they don't, you know, ideologically believe in fascism, they often decide of it anyway. At the same time, Elon's whole reality is on Twitter, and his reality on Twitter is just literally fascist, tweeting misinformation, and trying to stir up like racial hatred, right? That's all he sees all the time. That's what he comments on. That's what he boosts, and that's how he gets his own dopamine hits. people liking his posts about that because all of his fans are also fascists, right? So it's a cycle of he radicalizes himself, far-right give him attention, he keeps tweeting far-right stuff for attention, his algorithm becomes only flooded with far-right political shit, and that is just what he exists in now, right? So he's completely addicted to the dopamine hits, he's completely addicted to the attention. As sad as it is, he bought Twitter for attention, and there's just no stopping him now. Like, he's just firmly radicalized by his own platform. And although I would say it feels like he couldn't get any worse, I'm pretty sure he can. Even though he turns Twitter into basically like a campaign arm of Trump's campaign for the presidency, it still feels like he could get worse somehow. Now, what has set him off recently is Elon Musk showing what a genius he is. He's obviously in like a massive feud right now with a Brazilian judge because Twitter has been banned in Brazil. And can I say, I actually think the UK should ban Twitter as well. I think Twitter has really no benefit to just society in general. I think you could maybe argue the pro-Palestine stuff, but I think it's dwarfed by the fascist shit. So Tom Phillips from The Guardian, Brazil's Supreme Court upholds ban on Twitter over illegal conduct. So members of Brazil's Supreme Court have unanimously voted to uphold a ban on Twitter after Elon Musk refused to comply with local laws, leading to the social network being blocked. On Monday, 5 of the court's justices were asked to consider Friday's decision to temporarily banish Twitter from Brazil, where the platform had more than 21 million users. By lunchtime, all 5 votes had voted in favour of the ban. Casting his vote in favour of Twitter's continued suspension, Flavio Dino said the company's decision to deliberately ignore a court order to name a legal representative in Brazil suggested it considered itself above the rule of law. Such behaviour risks turning Twitter into an outlaw, Dino added, indicating that he could revisit his decision in the future if the company corrected its illegal conduct. Economic power and the size of one's bank account do not produce some strange immunity from jurisdiction, Dino argued, warning of the risk of private autocrats being allowed to lay down the laws of social networks. Judge Cristiano Zanin also backed the ban, citing how Twitter had systematically flouted Supreme Court orders, first to block accounts that are allegedly spreading disinformation, and then to name a local representative. The repeated non-compliance with Supreme Court decisions is extremely serious for any citizen or legal entity, be they public or private. No one can seek to perform their activities in Brazil without complying with the laws of the federal constitution. Obviously, Elon Musk was close with the last ruler of Brazil, Bolsonaro, and I think was given some sort of bullshit award when he went to Brazil as well. And yeah, so Elon Musk feels like he doesn't need to appoint a legal representative for Twitter in Brazil. They ban it, and in my opinion, from reading about it, it seems like they would be willing to reverse it if he just did that. And also, I feel like he didn't do it out of laziness and incompetence rather than some sort of political thing against the Brazilian government. But yeah, of course, he's been going off on one because Brazil has a leftist government, talking about like the woke authoritarians just like censoring free speech around the world. And yeah, it set him off on a new one recently, on a new Twitter spree. And like that post said on Threads, it's just non-stop. Before I show you Elon's tweeting spree, this is from the video I made about Jordan Peterson when he was reaching his like peak of Twitter addiction. And this is how much he was tweeting in just like a very short space of time. But Jordan Peterson doesn't like waiting at all. So just going from the top, so tweeting something about Occupy Wall Street 35 minutes ago, but then 38 minutes ago, he's tweeting at Justin Trudeau. And then 39 minutes ago, a CNN post, but it's something he has to tweet about. 41 minutes ago, no big deal, just a crow doing a spot of snowboarding. Crows and other corvids are super smart, so just tweeting about random stuff, then retweeting St. Michael's Line, this castle in Europe, then retweeting himself on the Daily Wire. Then 43 minutes ago, he's talking about sending someone to prison who works at a gender clinic. He's retweeting PragerU, the least free place on earth is the mind ensnared by its own lies. 45 minutes ago, he's tweeting again. 47 minutes ago, he's retweeting himself from 50 minutes ago. 52 minutes ago, He's tweeting again about how Sweden dealt with COVID 54 minutes ago. He's retweeting someone 57 minutes ago. He's retweeting himself attacking Justin Trudeau again. Then he's retweeting some article from the New York Post talking about the censorship industrial complex. Then he's retweeting someone else who detransitioned 59 minutes ago saying liars and butchers facilitated this and then did this, no forgiveness. As someone who's used Twitter since 2011, tweeting that much, especially when you're consuming loads of like media posts as well, is just absolute insanity. Like, can you imagine doing that? Anyone who posts on social media, text-based social media, can you imagine writing that much stuff in that period of time? Like, you absolutely have to be like completely addicted to Twitter. So I screenshotted this of Elon Musk's account. This is starting at about 5:30 Thursday the 5th. I don't know when you'll be watching this video. I'm not going to be reading all of them out for you, but most of it is related to Brazil. So these are just his posts. So this means he's tweeted this as like a new thing or quote tweeted something. It doesn't include retweets. It doesn't include like replies to other tweets, which obviously also count. So 9 minutes ago, when I took the screenshots, talking about like posting some stupid meme, he set up a whole Twitter account about the judge who banned Twitter. So 3 hours before that, he was tweeting that. And then there's like a 3-hour spell where he's just tweeting so much stuff about Brazil, but also just like random shit as well. But as I just go through the screenshots, you're seeing how much he's tweeting about so much random stuff, talking about like working for the Trump administration, more stuff about Brazil. And if you notice, these are all like 4 hours after I started screenshotting them. Just loads and loads of stuff about the mainstream media talking about Brazil. Then he has a little break for 3 hours, then just starts posting random shit. Like, look at this one. Trump or communism. It's no longer Republicans versus Democrats. It's America versus communism. That's a battle America must win. Not immediately, but firmly on that path. And also, yeah, obviously, Elon Musk tweeting that AI-generated picture of Kamala Harris meant to be like a communist dictator. So yeah, 7 hours ago, just quote tweeting loads of random shit about the voting system, quote tweeting stuff that Liz Cheney said about Kamala Harris in the past, obviously pretending he supports free speech by boosting the Internet Archive controversy right now. I'm not going to comment on these now, but just watch the screen and look at all these tweets. Notice the hours, like, and how much he's just quote tweeting stuff, how much he's reading, how much he's boosting. Although it largely revolves around Brazil, it's not purely related to Brazil. So this guy is just like, think about how much he's reading all of this stuff every single day and how much he's just like, I guess, interacting it and consuming it. And a lot of these people are fascists as well. I've just shown you two right here, Peter Sweden and Richard Hanania. And again, we still haven't reached 24 hours and I'm still showing you more and more tweets of this guy just talking so much fucking garbage. So as I conclude the video, I just want to play you me scrolling Elon Musk's feed. So this is me scrolling at a decent pace of everything he's done on Twitter over the last day, and just have a look at how much he's just on it. And please just notice how much this stuff is far-right politics as well. So Elon Musk, one of the world's most powerful men, one of the world's richest men, has created a Nazi echo chamber for himself on a social media platform he bought just for his own vanity. He's clearly a guy, very clearly, a guy who's desperate for attention, a guy who's been deprived of a lot of validation in his own personal life, so he seeks it out from basically any community on Twitter. And it's pretty clear, in my opinion, Elon Musk doesn't really have political principles. Like, he doesn't really give a shit about most things to do with politics. He just likes anyone who likes him. Kind of reminds me of like earlier Donald Trump in some ways, and that's why he's firmly in bed with the far right now. It's not because he suddenly woke up one day and thought, oh, I want to be a fascist. He started grifting off them because they're probably the most gullible people. But then what happens is he gets into the community, he gets into the echo chamber, and he just starts believing everything they say. And when, you know, you've seen interviews where he is confronted on this stuff, he doesn't even seem to understand what it is. And he's simply just doing it for this dopamine hit, for this validation. But I think fundamentally, it's clear this guy is deeply unstable. And this guy even owning this social media platform shouldn't be legal. And I would say at this point, I wouldn't say Twitter should be nationalized. I think Facebook should be nationalized. I think Twitter should just be banned in most countries, to be honest. I don't even really consider it a free speech issue at this point because Twitter isn't a free speech platform. Elon Musk regularly complies with censorship from like the Indian government, from any government that makes him do it, while pretending just because a country like Brazil banned him because they don't want him to abuse his power, that he's acting like now he's the one being censored. For me, I don't like the takeover of social media, obviously, by very, very powerful billionaires. And I think Facebook is the worst example because now they have WhatsApp, Threads, Instagram, and Facebook, right? That is way too much power for one company to have. So I think it should be nationalized by various governments, or they should be forced to sell a majority stake to different governments around the world. I don't know exactly how it would play out, but these groups and these billionaires, they're just unaccountable on their personal social media platforms. Zuckerberg is smarter because he doesn't spend all day posting on Facebook to like sycophantic fascists and stuff. But at the same time, he's part of the same problem, that these people just control our discourse so much. And here's the scary thought. Elon Musk introduced the verification system, right? Where you can get your own post boosted and pay for verification. And Mark Zuckerberg doesn't think, oh, this is a bad idea. He actually introduces it to all his own platforms as well, because they are all, at the end of the day, concerned with money than they are concerned with any semblance of political principles like free speech, right? I would be surprised if Zuckerberg ever gets radicalized by his own social media platform, but that could still happen as well. So that's it for the video. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments, and if you made it this far, thank you for watching.
and the actual straight up, open, proud, and honest anti-Muslim racist are. Kraut has all of these claims about me supposedly harassing him, but he doesn't actually have any evidence of it ever. Like, it's just, he just says it. And this is a theme. Like, he just keeps posting what is basically fan fiction about me supposedly interacting with him constantly over the years, and not just interacting with him, but like harassing him and stalking him. Like, he kind of makes it seem like this is happening literally daily. And he's been like creating straight up fan fiction about like my personal life and my supposed real life interactions with people. And of course, there is absolutely no evidence for any of it. Like, does this seem like normal behavior to you? So Kraut was like so shaken by the literally one video that I made that mentions him on my main channel that he took to spamming pictures of me on his Twitter, like dozens of times. He would just post a picture of me with what I guess is supposed to be a joke attached to it. And yeah, I mean, just look at this stuff. It goes on for quite a while. I'm sure if this happened to Kraut, he would claim that it was harassment. Like, if I was doing this sort of thing to him, where I just like posted pictures of him with some sort of like funny text next to it, he would claim that he was being like harassed by me and like try to report me to YouTube or something. So it is kind of ironic that he claims to be harassed by me when he's doing this. Like, this is like just weird and obsessive, man. Like, come on. This very weird, bizarre, uncomfortable campaign of Kraut like posting my picture also coincided with him posting on his Twitter about how like there was some sort of like communist bread tube conspiracy or something, and this is probably my favorite one of those. He said, "I guess there is nothing worse to the communist mind than someone who prospers and succeeds outside their control. They either have to dominate over you or they will try to destroy you. They will never leave you alone." At least that's the lesson I learned here. It seems like he thinks that like basically anyone who responded to him on Twitter was like my alternate account or something. The guy just can't take criticism. For him, criticism, particularly criticism from people who are far more equipped than him to make historical content, which he doesn't really know how to respond to, because all that he's capable of doing is rehashing the same tired arguments from free political science books over and over, which he just plagiarizes and adapts over and over again to different countries. And his way of dealing with that, rather than to just keep making videos and, you know, do his own thing, which he can do. That's what most people do. Most people never respond to criticism. And I mean, it's fine. Like, you know, I've made videos about Johnny Harris, for example, another guy who, a lot better than Kraut, don't get me wrong, but, you know, I don't really think he's the greatest YouTuber ever. But Johnny Harris doesn't, like, get debilitated when I make a video about him. He doesn't get debilitated when anyone makes videos about him. There's nothing stopping Kraut from just making videos, but, like, he literally seems to believe that the fact that he has been criticized 3 or 4 times by me and other YouTubers is, like, preventing him from making videos. He literally posted, "He could have just left me alone. I never instigated any of this. I avoided him in the entire corner of the internet he was a part of. All I wanted is to make videos about things that interest me." This was from December 19th, you know, like literally months and months after he had started spamming pictures of my face on Twitter. How does me making a video responding to you prevent you from making videos about things that interest you? So this is plainly just a narrative of self-victimization created by Kraut in lieu of him actually dealing directly with criticisms of his plagiarism and his bad history videos. Instead of that, he tries to frame himself as the victim of the people who made said criticisms, with frankly ridiculous and delusional claims that require a massively inflated sense of self-importance to make, of him being persecuted by said critics. This is actually part of why I sort of held off on making a video about what happened to me, because I didn't want people to think that I was like just trying to score some cheap sympathy points and some victim points, as I'd prefer that people actually assess what I have to say on its merits, rather than just appealing to a certain narrative about myself personally. But anyway, fast forward to October, and Kraut posted, guess what? The defamatory screenshot made by Shirion Collective and spread by Drew Pavlu, trying to paint me as someone who enjoys certain crimes against babies. Kraut posted this in response to someone responding to him and saying, "Debate bad empanada." The guy who was responding to tagged a Twitter impersonator who they apparently thought was me, but the message is clearly, "Debate bad empanada." And Kraut thought that defamation of like the worst crime possible was a proportionate response to someone telling him to debate another creator. And that was enough to set him off on accusing me of what is considered to be the worst crime in most human societies today. Apparently, that is warranted in the case of someone saying, debate this guy. Makes a lot of sense, right? And his fans, of course, followed his lead and immediately took to spamming that same screenshot everywhere. Now, in response to this, people started photoshopping Kraut into that exact same screenshot. You can see this reply to Kraut, for example, which was posted on the very same day that he posted that defamatory tweet against me, saying, hey, look, here's a Photoshop tweet of you saying that exact same thing. Both of these tweets are fake, and your tactic, so you don't have to respond to criticism of the bullshit that you say, is blocking those who do it and making up pedophilia allegations. So he was called out literally immediately and had his own claims about me turned around on him by someone who was attempting to demonstrate quite clearly that anyone can fake this shit. So maybe you shouldn't post fake defamatory stuff about others. So, you know, if you're just gonna do that against someone else over what is ultimately a rather petty YouTube disagreement over historical facts and politics, then surely you're not gonna try to paint yourself as the victim when precisely what you tried to do to me is turned around onto you with literally the exact same fake screenshot, right? But this is Kraut that we're talking about here. So he's certainly not going to say, oh, I see how awful it is to have this done to you now. I'll delete that fake screenshot that I posted. Please stop posting the fake screenshots of me. Sorry for that. Instead, he actually just acted like he'd never done that, and that he was the victim of like an out-of-nowhere defamation campaign led by me with all of my gang-stalking brothers who I personally sent to victimize him for absolutely no reason whatsoever. Turns out that Kraut found out it's actually really fucking annoying and distressing to have a bunch of people suddenly accuse you of something that you aren't, suddenly trying to paint you as the worst possible thing in the world, as he did to me, and as he continues to do to me, by the way. That was not simply a one-off thing. He not only reposted that exact same screenshot, but repeatedly insinuated that I had committed like grave crimes, and that I was only let into Argentina because they apparently don't do criminal record checks for migrants, something which isn't true, but which he's obviously trying to spread to imply that the allegations that he made against me are true. So this set Kraut off completely. You know, he was fine with doing that to me, but when it was done back to him, he wasn't fine with that, and he was hell-bent now on getting revenge. So the first thing that he did was like spam a million tweets about how he was the victim of like a vile defamation campaign that I was apparently inflicting upon him as a part of my like many years long since 2019 harassment campaign against him, which he curiously never actually provides any evidence has ever happened. And it's honestly embarrassing for his followers that they just take this at its word constantly. Is this the new thing that leftists do now? Photoshopping into tweets, framing them as pedophiles? Just like memory hold the fact that he did it to me? But anyway, so he started concocting like this really elaborate, frankly bizarre narrative about me that I'm 100% sure that he got directly from the same Argentine far-right people who were doxing and harassing and trying to kill me, because right as he was complaining about my supposed defamation campaign against him, they showed up in his mentions with like long laundry lists of my supposed crimes. And Kraut would just like retweet and share what they were saying, like uncritically saying like, it looks like Bad Empanada has been terrorizing Argentina for years and we never knew, displaying the level of critical source analysis that he displays in the rest of his content, just uncritically took them at their word, regardless of how clearly ridiculous what they were telling him was. So he posted that he got some information from a lawyer in Buenos Aires about the YouTuber known as Bad Empanada. Bad Empanada is already known to lawyers in Buenos Aires. That is a weird enough claim in and of itself. Like, known to lawyers, just like lawyers in general. So over the course of a few years, he has doxed, harassed, sent violent threats, defamed, and sent his audience through all of those things to over 50 people, all of whom, or many of whom rather, are from Buenos Aires. You know, we'd like to see some evidence for that. Is there any evidence of this anywhere at all? But apparently I keep getting away with it for a simple reason. The civil litigation and court system in Argentina is broken due to decades of government mismanagement. So if you want to sue someone in an Argentine civil court, the costs and paperwork are enormous. You can spend years stuck doing paperwork and spending tons of money before even going to a single court hearing on any matter you may be litigating. And Bad Empanada takes advantage of that. As soon as he is served papers informing him that he is being sued, the person suing him is flooded with violent threats online, as well as threats and harassment via phone calls directed at that person, their family, and employers, which continues until the case is dropped. Every person who has taken the step of actually suing Empanada has basically been harassed and threatened into dropping the case. In summary, Bad Empanada is a foreigner who moved to a country broken by bad policies, takes advantage of those broken systems to enjoy impunity and zero consequences for any of his actions while living a good life on foreign currency earned through those awful actions. There is nothing one can do legally to have this person face any consequences. He basically operates outside of the structure of non-accountability, not only because big leftist spreadtubers support him, but because he takes advantage of a broken country. Can you imagine, like, being so just mentally damaged by being mentioned for like 5 to 10 minutes in a response video to one of your historical videos that this is what you end up posting? This is absolutely insane. Like, absolutely nothing here is true. I have never been sued, not even once, nor has anyone even tried to sue me. And all of the things that he mentioned there, like, it doesn't make any sense for them to be litigated through the civil system anyway, because those are crimes, Howard. I wouldn't be sued for those. I would be reported to the police. And he's constructed, like, this entire elaborate narrative about me getting away with all of these terrible crimes because, like, in his mind, Argentina has, like, an impossible, horrible, corrupt court system and nothing ever gets done there and it's impossible, blah, 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 which, you know, is just pretty transparently racist, I would say. Argentina has a pretty decent court system, at least by the standards of countries of similar levels of income. And, you know, you have to wonder if these are really serious allegations, right? Like, according to him, I'm served papers informing me that I'm sued. That's news to me. It never happened as far as I know. The person suing him is flooded with violent threats online, as well as threats and harassment via phone calls directed at that person, their family, and employers. Why is there no evidence of this? Like, you would think that something like this would have a ton of evidence for it, right? And, you know, logically, if someone tries to sue you and, like, harass them and threaten them, that's also a crime which they could then report and get you in much more serious trouble than you were already in. It's safe to say that this is all made up. And I doubt that he talked to a lawyer, because a lawyer wouldn't advise him on, like, criminal matters being civil matters, because they're just not. He either made this up or spoke to someone who made this up or pretended to be a lawyer or something like that, because this is all insane. It's absolutely insane. Like, the idea that I am, like, the leader of, like, some sort of mass gang stalking harassment group that coordinates harassment of, like, 50 people all at once, and, like, I send my fans on them, which is interesting because my fans all speak English. You know, I make videos in English. All my content is in English. I don't even know how that would work. I don't think my fans really give much of a shit about Argentina. Like, it's just been endless weird, like, shit like this from him. Like, just he makes up fan fiction about me, honestly. What else is there? Like, there was one tweet he made that I honestly just find really funny. For the Argentinians who are just newly following, here in the English language sphere, Bad Empanada presented himself as the quintessential Argentinian, the expert on all things Argentinian, and the most beloved man in Buenos Aires. It's so funny to find out how much you hate him. Have I ever done that? Like, have I presented myself as the quintessential Argentinian, the expert on all things Argentinian, the most beloved man in Buenos Aires? Is that true? And what, like, this is like a deep lore video here. Like, this video, this is like a 2019 Bad Empanada video with like 20,000 views. So he really went through my channel, like deep through my, like, the old videos on my channel, just to find like a really old picture of me. I guess because it's really unflattering. Yeah, it is really, really fucking poorly lit. It is horrible, as most of my videos are, to be honest. But, like, dude, are you okay? Like, you're not having a good fucking time right now. Just slow down and take a breath. What the fuck is going on over there in Austria? He also made a really funny claim where apparently I'm scared to go out into the street. Like, he said, yeah, buddy, an Argentine told me you barely leave your home anymore because people recognize you on the streets and shouted at you to fuck off back to Australia, gringo. He also posted saying, I'm getting to know many Argentines who hate Bad Empanada and just want this Australian gringo to get the fuck back out of that country. Really put perspective on the claims he made over the years of how beloved he supposedly was over there. Like, dude, what the fuck are you talking? None of this has ever happened, by the way. I've been recognized 3 times in Argentina. One of them was at Centro Cultural Conex, which is a really weird hippie live music venue that I never returned to. But it was like an American tourist who recognized me there and came up and said that he liked my videos. Another one was at Centro Cultural Kirchner, which is a really great, awesome state-run, like, I don't even know what to call it, like, I guess culture complex. It has like orchestras, it has like theater, it has plays, it has museums. It's like all in one sort of thing. The new government renamed it Palacio Libertad, I think, because, you know, right-wingers don't build new things, they just rename things that other people built. And I went there once and I asked like an employee, hey, do you know what the thing that we're going to is? And he's like, are you a bad empanada? And I'm like, yeah, well, you know who I am? He was pretty young. Maybe like 18, 19, but that was interesting. And the third time was last year at the March of Memory, it's called, which is a march remembering the victims of the last dictatorship, the disappeared as they are known, desaparecidos. And when I was there, a guy recognized me and said that he liked my videos. So that's the 3 times that I've been recognized in public, at least when I was informed of it. And all of it was positive experiences. So yeah, he's just making shit up. Like, I don't even know why I feel the need to respond to it. You know, like, he's just making shit up with no evidence. Like, claims made with no evidence can just be discarded out of hand. They should just be discarded out of hand. And this guy is making claims with no evidence and nothing but. However, he did make some specific allegations there. You know, I am like a doxer, harasser, and I have tons of victims. Like, he actually said that he's organizing a Discord server to like get all the evidence of my crimes together. He did that in between making posts directly accusing me of running a gang stalking operation on behalf of Hassan Piker. I almost feel bad making this video, but also like, it's funny. Come on. Don't pretend you're not laughing at this along with me. I know you are. So Kraut's master plan is to like use this Discord server to basically dox me and apparently to like put together all of the dirt that they have on me and send it to what he claimed like a drama YouTuber. Like he said like he's going to send all the evidence to a big million subscriber drama YouTuber and they will make a video on me. And like, are you kidding me? Like, you can't threaten me with a good time, dude. Like, anyone who's ever watched my second channel would know that a big YouTuber making a video about me, I would have so much fun with that. It would be so awesome. Like, what, are you going to send the Willie Mac show after me? Maybe even Squeaky McGee? Maybe even Some Ordinary Gamers? Whatever the hell that street name means. I don't know if it's possible to threaten me with something less intimidating than the idea that some of the dumbest people imaginable, drama YouTubers, commentary YouTubers, have agreed to make a video on me. Do you live on another planet to me? It pains me that I'm kind of ruining this beforehand because it would be awesome if a drama YouTuber made a video about me and then I responded to that with like all the evidence that I have disproving all of Kraut's claims. So I do kind of regret making this video now, but I'm also kind of motivated to make it, and I want to get it out of the way now so that I can just work on things that actually matter, because, you know, it would be really annoying if I had to stop what I was doing to make a response video to some drama bullshit and I was working on something that I was really into, you know, really focused on working on. So anyway, before we get to like the main course, which is Kraut's evidence against me, I'd just like to point out that Kraut actually doxed me. He posted on Twitter insinuating that he knows where I live, insinuating that he knows specifically like my address, like the neighborhood that I live in, which is not something that I've ever shared, not something that he should know. The only way that he can know that is through doxing. So Kraut is a doxer. Just want to get that out there. And here you see him happily retweeting a lifelong neo-Nazi, something that I'll be going over in this video later, don't you worry, bragging about receiving my dox from the Argentine far right. I think it's pretty clear that in this bad empanada stalking Discord server that we got going on, there's a bunch of neo-Nazis, Argentine far right people, Shirion people sharing my dox, sharing basically whatever shit they can find on me or make up about me. Otherwise, how exactly would Kraut know where I live? And yeah, now let's move on to Kraut's supposed evidence. So immediately after Kraut went on his rampage against me after initially realizing that, you know, if you accuse others of the most heinous crimes imaginable, some others might turn that around on you. He almost immediately started reaching out to a user on Twitter called It's Croa or Croata. Now, this is apparently someone who I harassed and whose personal information I disclosed. So who is this person? Who is Croata? Well, do you remember those Argentine harassment and doxing groups I talked about earlier? And remember how I said that there has been media articles about them? Well, what would you say if I told you that Croata is the liaison between the government and these doxing and harassment groups? Literally someone who is a member of what are basically groups that are dedicated to harassing people, doxing them, and trying to incite people into killing them. Because that's who she is. That's literally who this person is. That's what we're dealing with. Here are a number of articles which will be linked down below of her being linked to these groups in a leadership position. So this is not something that I'm making up. You know, unlike Kraut, I have sources for my claims. And in this case, actual media sources, actual media reports, actual media exposés about these people. So basically the story of her is that she's like a rich kid who has been funded by her parents her entire life. She's like been studying law for 7 or 8 years now. Somehow hasn't managed to graduate in all that time. Doesn't work. She's just kind of on Twitter all day. And for being on Twitter all day, she's sort of inevitably developed a following by posting in right-wing spaces. Well, let's face it, being a woman. Just being a woman in a right-wing space is generally enough to get you followers, because especially right-wingers in Argentina, in this case, like what used to be the fringe right, but isn't anymore, not exactly known for having frequent contact with women. So she got followers off that, became sort of like an influencer, though I don't even know what an influencer, what does she influence? I don't know, dude. And at some point she got connected with Santiago Caputo. Now, Caputo is a friend of Javier Milei, who has been put in charge of Javier Milei's like digital espionage team. And that's a very generous way of referring to them, because it's basically a bunch of bumbling idiots. Caputo got to know Milei in the same way that like half of the people in Milei's government got to know him and got the positions that they're in, which is that they befriended him on Twitter. That's literally it. They befriended him on Twitter, and was enough for them to get invited into his government later on. It's pathetic, honestly. So you might notice in these pictures before and after of Santiago Caputo, you know, there's a bit of a difference there. You know, it's an entirely new face, basically, but particularly the nose. So for this work, he needed an eminent plastic surgeon. And guess who Croata's dad is? This is public information, by the way. She's publicly posted this on her account, so I'm not doxing her or anything by showing you this. So Santiago Caputo got his new face from Croata's father. And Croata had been for many years at this point jobless and desperately trying to get into politics. And eventually, through Caputo's contact with her father, she got into contact with him. And now she works on his behalf. Thing is like the middleman between the government and a lot of these organized harassment groups. It's pathetic, right? A lot of you guys probably haven't heard this about Milei's government. There is also an article about this in English that I'll link down below from the Buenos Aires Herald, by the way. It's like, what is there to say? Like, it is as pathetic as it sounds. Anyway, so Croata is the leader of at least 2 of these groups that I know. One of them is called the Death Squad. The other one is called KFC. And these are separate but very intertwined groups of basically complete losers who sit at home all day, doxing and harassing people on social media and desperately trying to get someone to go to their house and assault them or harass them. And it was at her behest that guy who I went over earlier threatened me and ended up showing up at the place where he thought I lived. As you can see here, this is my supposed victim responding to one of the threats that the guy who I ended up criminally denouncing made against me, saying, "Make the fatherland proud. Kill. That illegal immigrant has been harassing us for months." Other excellent work that her and those under her have engaged in is there was an astrologist who posted on Twitter as like her main platform, you know, like an online astrologist who would post like horoscopes and stuff, and she posted anti-Milei tweets. So Croata and the KFC group that she is in charge of targeted her with like a really brutal doxing and harassment campaign that is way worse than what they did to me. They first sent one of their members to her house, who assaulted her mother and told her to make her daughter stop posting, otherwise they would all be killed. They then started posting her address on Facebook, saying that there was free stuff there to get people to go there, hoping that this would result in angry people attacking them when they realized there was nothing there and they'd traveled for nothing. And they also antagonized people online and then invited to come and fight them in real life, giving them her address, which resulted in numerous angry, violent people showing up at her house. They then organized X spaces named Group Masturbation Session to Ailen's Voice, and then sent her a video of a man masturbating while her voice was playing. This video was sent by a man named Federico Javier Gorga. As his name has been reported in the mainstream media, as you can clearly see, it's not doxing for me to reveal it. Gorga's online alias is Barani. Remember him, because he's going to come up again very, very soon. The next month, they hired a company to hang a banner outside her house saying, "We love your voice," from KFC. Since then, they have continued to harass her, including by using AI to make fake pornographic pictures of her. Another of their victims is Javier Smaldone. Smaldone is a cybersecurity analyst who was using his skills to investigate the links between Santiago Caputo and the KFC doxing group. Once he began posting evidence of the connections between between them and between the user Croata, Santiago Caputo started tweeting about him himself, and very soon following, KFC doxed his daughter using the same modus operandi they had used against the astrologist to attempt to incite people to attack her. She received hundreds of messages, phone calls, and visits to her home. Then, Croata began attacking her as well. She tagged Smaldone's daughter on Twitter, accusing her of being the daughter of a pedophile and stalker. This was a very clear example of a coordinated campaign ordered by Santiago Caputo with the participation of Croata's KFC group and Croata herself in order to attempt to silence Smaldone from revealing her connections to KFC and Caputo. Croata hired Formula lawyer and serial doxer in his own right, Alejandro Sarubi Benitez, to file a frivolous lawsuit against him, accusing him of harassment and domestic violence in an attempt to intimidate him into silence. This lawyer, who Croata has openly praised and acknowledged is her lawyer on social media, recently posted about his intent to organize a new festival of doxing. These people are not exactly hiding who they are and what they do, and it is absolutely insane that Kraut has been communicating with them. Now, going back to Federico Gorga, do you remember those messages from earlier of someone threatening to essay my non-existent daughter and talking about sending things to my house? That was Federico Gorga, who again operates under the command of Croata. And here is an X space where Federico Gorga, using the alias Barani, the blue avatar, is speaking to Croata regarding which member of the KFC group will get the task of going to find my house in person. For some reason, they thought they lived in Cordoba, in a rather humble area. I don't know why they thought that. I've never been there before. But yeah, and that's why they're talking about their targets being from poorer areas here.
Yo no quiero plata, a mí me han dado unos AirPods Pro 2, yo te hago lo que quiera.
Pero déjame de joder, boludo, unos AirPods de mierda. Pasa, ¿sabes qué? Que además nuestros objetivos nos quedan lejos de donde vos vivís, como para que me des una mano con algo encima. Sí. Porque vos vivís en zonas muy chetas y nuestros objetivos son gente pobre.
No importa, tengo auto.
Pero vos fíjate, ¿no? Lo increíble es gente acá, gente normalmente, no todos pobres, algunos con plata, literal divirtiéndose, haciéndole maldad a esa gente pobre.
Bueno, tenés auto, anda a repetir en la casa, ponele KFC, subite al auto y rajá, andá con un amigo.
And here is another space where these two organize what can only be described as the attempted murder campaign against the astrologer.
Está en proceso colocarle una capilla del Gauchito Gil en la vereda de la casa. Entonces después le voy a llenar la capilla del Gauchito Gil, se le voy a llenar de ofrendas con pedido ya, básicamente.
Un pasacalle también, boludo.
Ya le metí un pasacalle, ya está vergüenza.
Un pasacalle, no sé, una...
Y
a los mariachis
otra...
también.
No,
Es un montón, Barrani, deja de gastar plata al pedo.
Todavía no. No, pará, que tenemos otro plan, pero ese es secreto porque es muy heavy y es ahora por así.
Yo soy la líder, o sea, yo tengo que saber todo.
These are the sort of people who Kraut is allying with. These are the sort of people who Kraut considers to be the victims of Bad Empanada, the members of the Victims of Bad Empanada Memorial Foundation. The first person who you reached out to is like the member of like a pro-melee parastatal digital paramilitary dedicated to like doxing and harassing people on behalf of the government. Like, are you fucking kidding me, dude? And in case there's any doubt as to whether he knows this or not, Kraut straight up said yes, he admitted that he has been in contact with her and that, you know, he knows this. So there's no plausible deniability here. This guy knows precisely who he's talking to. And this is just a straight up malicious campaign to frame the people who literally doxed me and tried to kill me as my victims. Like, it's fucking absurd, man. But wait, there's more. Just when you thought it couldn't get any worse. Here is a screenshot from the other group that Croata leads called Death Squad. These people invited me into this group, I guess with the idea of like getting me to argue with them or something, and then sort of forgot that they had invited me into it. So I was just like sitting there taking screenshots of the stuff that they were saying and gathering evidence. And at one point, one of the members of the group doxed my mother and said in the chat, "This is the mother of Bad Empanada." Another user said, "Is this real? I thought that was fake." And then Croata responded to that person with the full dox of my mother. So this person, Kraut, is counting as my victim is someone who has been involved in dozens upon dozens of doxing and harassment campaigns, and including attempted murder campaigns against so many people, including against me, someone who has doxed my family members. But hey, let's give him a chance. What evidence does Kraut present to show that she is actually my victim, that I have actually harassed and doxed her, and that we have this all the wrong way around? So here is a post that Kraut made with an attached screenshot. He claims that this screenshot is proof that I impersonated law enforcement and threatened what he calls Argentine political commentator It's Croata, that's a very generous description, after having doxed her on her private phone number with demands to delete tweets that she made about me that I didn't like. So let us see if his narrative around this screenshot at all holds up. A reminder before we begin, he has posted this exact same accusation with this exact same supposed proof like a dozen times. He's extremely confident in this being like clear evidence of my wrongdoing. So firstly, if you see that censoring of the phone number, Kraut added that himself. It was not there in her original tweet. So the fact is, she actually doxed my phone number, posting it for everyone to see. Aside from that, Kraut, being a massive idiot, didn't consider the fact that she had messaged me first, which she factually did, because she had doxed my phone number using her access to government databases that she has, because she is the leader of multiple government-backed doxing groups. So she sent me messages first, and I didn't respond until I had organized a new phone number, because I knew that the initial messages were a ploy to confirm that I was indeed using that first number that she had found. Then, after she started a campaign to do what Kraut did to me, branding me as a pedophile and encouraging others to do so as well, as you can clearly see in these screenshots right fucking here, just still there on her account, which Kraut is too stupid to look for. Or honestly, I don't know, is that true? Or maybe he's just malicious and he's doing this on purpose, knowing that he's taking all this out of context. Note the date on this one, by the way. The same exact day that she sent her friend to look for my house and kill me. After she did that, I sent her one message saying to her, "Hi, Sophia. Today, we are preparing a complaint against you for falsely implying that I have committed crimes. You won't have any defense because the crimes that you were accusing me of cannot be proven. You can, on the same social networks where you committed these crimes, retract your claims and clarify that they were false. If not, we will proceed with a criminal complaint against you, and after that, we will denounce you civilly as well for damages. In a defamation trial, retracting your claims is only a defense if you do it before the complaint is made. I give you 24 hours. So aside from his pathetic doxing narrative already having been refuted, I clearly do not impersonate law enforcement in there at all. He made that up. I don't know, like, what is wrong with his brain, man? And the supposed tweets that he says I don't like are literally tweets where she publicly announces that I am a pedophile. Like, oh God, Bad Empanada, you threatened someone with a lawsuit for publicly defaming you as a pedophile and telling others to do it as well? Oh yeah, you fucking horrible person. Dude, what the hell is wrong with this guy? What the hell is wrong with the people who follow him? What in the holy fuck is wrong with the brains of people who just accept narratives like this with screenshots attached that just clearly contradict what they are claiming? Dear God. The average YouTube viewer and the average YouTuber literally is incapable of like processing information in the most basic way possible. This is absurd. Like, this is cancelable behavior. If there's anything that has been cancelable, it is collaborating with the Argentine far-right, government-linked Argentine far-right mass doxing and harassment groups, and just blatantly fucking lying in ways that he knows he's lying. Kraut also openly said that he met up with one of these Argentine far-right people in real life, and he specified that it was a woman. So I think the question has to be asked, has Kraut been meeting Croata in real life? Because that is even more serious than what he's already been doing. I'm just speechless, honestly. Like, I kind of regret not letting him get a drama YouTuber to make a video about this, because it would have been an absolute shit show when I responded with this stuff. These are your victims of Bad Empanada, dude. These are your victims of Bad Are you kidding me? Kraut has done this thing where he posts a screenshot that clearly does not even remotely back up what he's saying about me. Yet nonetheless just says it with his whole heart multiple times. For example, he stated this At one point, Bad Empanada even tried to rile up Arabs living in Buenos Aires to attack Jewish neighborhoods. And the evidence for this is a tweet which says, "It's time to create an organization of Palestinians and Arabs of all religions in Argentina to defend their rights and to fight Zionist racial hate organizations. For too long, organizations like the DEA, which is the main Zionist lobbying/harassment/doxing group in Argentina, have had impunity and they're treated by the media as if their positions are serious, while they advocate for colonialism and, as happened today, even openly advocate for the massacre of all Palestinian children." Okay, so that doesn't sound like trying to rile up Arabs living in Buenos Aires to attack Jewish neighborhoods, does it? It seems like Kraut is just like making up fan fiction and posting a screenshot that is nothing like what he says it is. So what's the context of this screenshot? What's the thing that I said happened today, as in the day that I posted that on? Well, the leader of the DEA, which is, as I said, the main Zionist lobby group in Argentina, posted on Twitter saying that, as we will repeat ad nauseum, there are no civilians in Gaza, perhaps only the children younger than 4 years old. So yeah, this is what Kraut is defending, and this is what he seems to think it's like morally wrong to form a group to advocate against, and what he frames as riling up Arabs to attack Jewish neighborhoods. Like, dude, what the fuck is wrong with you? This is not only defamation, malicious and intentional defamation, where he's attaching a screenshot that doesn't even remotely corroborate what he's saying about it, and this is not the only time he does this. He does it constantly, lying about it to paint something that's obviously fine, actually not just fine, but good, because this is an organization in Argentina that is dedicated towards spreading racial hatred of Palestinians and Arabs, to the point that they think that any one of them over the age of 4 should be killed. This is an organization whose members went out into the street to shoot homeless people for the glory of Israel. Quite a lot of context that you've left out there, and even in spite of that context, even without it, what's said in that screenshot is totally fine and nothing like what you said it was. And honestly, this is taking so long. It's like, do I really need to cover them all after that? Should I go over each and every one of these? I'll try to make it shorter because this is taking a long time. So let's go over the other Argentine victims of Bad Empanada according to Kraut. The members of the Victims of Bad Empanada Memorial Foundation Argentina Division. We have user @Babalu, and if you search his posts for his replies to my handle, you can see that he was actually a really early adopter of the Smear Bad Empanada with literally the worst crimes possible campaign. He was posting this stuff already in November 2023. Like, that's before the main campaigns of the Argentine far right and the Zionist campaign against me began. This guy's been like publicly defaming me and trying to get people to kill me for even longer than the others have. This guy is also an enthusiastic Gaza genocide supporter. As you can see in the screenshot, he says like 99% of them are gone. What he means by that is Gazan children. That's what this conversation was about before my account was unfortunately suspended, so we can't see what I was saying. This guy also showed up practically immediately in Kraut's mentions when Kraut started saying this stuff, and he has a bunch of screenshots that he responded to Kraut with, which are clearly screenshots of like group chats that he is in. These are certainly organized harassment group chats. So honestly, I think this guy is probably a part of like the originators of this smear against me, of the later campaigns against me. He's probably involved in those as well. The account is anonymous, obviously, so we can't know for sure. But like, this is your victim of Bad Empanada. This is your victim of Bad Empanada. You want to know what the worst thing is? This guy posted a clearly defamatory screenshot of what is either a fake Reddit post or a Reddit post that he or someone else in his organized harassment group chats posted to sort of make it sound like I had threatened to rape a 14-year-old and driven that 14-year-old to suicide as a result. The first time that this screenshot ever appeared on the internet was on this guy's account. This is obviously something that any of these dumbasses could make up, and given that there were multiple concurrent campaigns to accuse me of horrible crimes, to try and incite people into killing me, it's really not surprising that one of them went this far and fabricated this. Now, you would think that Kraut would react to this with some healthy skepticism, like, saying, okay, that's easy to fake. You know, where's the proof this ever actually happened? Beyond a screenshot of a now deleted Reddit post from a now suspended Reddit account that literally had not appeared on the open internet until you posted it in response to me right now. No. What Kraut did was share this defamation as if it were just sort of self-evidently true, totally uncritically, repeating the narrative that this organized harassment and doxing group member was spreading about it. If this is not cancelable behavior, then what the fuck is? So Kraut is thus far 2 for 2 on attempting to present like literally the scum of the earth, the worst people in the entire world who have been targeting me, harassing me, defaming me, attempting to get me killed as my victims. Let's see if he does any better with the next one. EUD Toxic. Okay, this one's really funny. This is someone who I had one single argument with because she was denying that there was ever a significant population of black people in Argentina. So I showed census statistics which prove that for at least a significant part of Argentine history, black people were indeed a significant portion of the population. So clearly it is incorrect to frame it as if Argentina never had a significant slave or black population, because quite clearly it did have a significant proportion of slaves. Otherwise, how would 25% of the population have been black? And this doesn't mean that, as like a lot of weird Americans like to claim, like they're really oddly obsessed with racism in Argentina, that there was like a genocide of black people in Argentina. There wasn't. What actually happened is just that lots of people from Spain and Italy immigrated, and no new black people immigrated, and there was no segregation, so people mixed, and black people just sort of got diluted out in like this flood of whites. Yaqub would be proud. But it's still incorrect to claim that there was never a significant black population in Argentina, because obviously 25% of the population in the biggest city, and probably higher than that elsewhere, given that black people were more likely to be in more rural areas, is significant. And her response to that was not only to double down, but to claim that I was sent by the CIA in order to legitimize a future US invasion of Argentina, because apparently they're going to invade Argentina on the pretext that it's racist in order to steal its resources. I'm not kidding. These are real things that she thinks and has said just openly out there on the internet. So this person also runs a business that is a middleman recruiting business that helps American companies form outsourced teams in Argentina, essentially exploiting Argentines by paying them way less money than they would get if they lived in another country and getting paid for it. So I called her a scammer because of that.